Over to Newcastle, Pete. We know that Samu Ageowa, or Omorodion, as he used to be going by, almost had a move to Chelsea this past summer, but it looks like Newcastle are interested in signing him, maybe alongside Isak if they make the Champions League. Is that something you could see them attacking?
Yeah, if they don't qualify for the Champions League, I don't think there's any chance that they'll be signing Samu to play alongside Alex Isak. That would be a dream scenario for Eddie Howe, because obviously they might be in the market for a new striker with Callum Wilson's contract expiring in the summer and looking like he could end up leaving Newcastle. Samu's a top player. Paul was at the game, Porto Man United, early in the season when he got a couple of goals, so he's proved that he can do it against Premier League defences. As you said, Chelsea very close to signing him in the summer before he had a rethink on that whole one and decided not to move there and ended up going to Porto from Atletico Madrid, and he's really been successful in Portugal. 20 goals in 32 games in all competitions for the Portuguese Giants. The thing is, for Newcastle, if they're not able to qualify for the Champions League, I can't see how they'll be able to afford Samu due to PSR and FFP, and also trying to attract the player with that Champions League football would be a very hard sell for the club. And if he continues his great run of form between now and the end of the season, I think there'll be a number of clubs who'll be lining up moves for the Spain international. We've got the likes of Aston Villa, Arsenal, West Ham, all monitoring his situation as well. But yeah, we've seen it in the past with Portuguese clubs. They do demand huge fees for their players because they have them all on big release clauses. I think his release clause is around 82.5 million. I don't think it would take that to get him out of Porto. I'm sure there'll be room for negotiation there, but obviously the Portuguese side are in a very strong position to demand a huge fee because he's under contract until 2029. So I think it's a hard deal to do for Newcastle. Maybe if Isak was to leave and they have a huge transfer fee from his potential departure, maybe then they could go and sign Samu. But if they don't have Champions League football, I think it's a very hard deal for Newcastle to try and complete.
He's a top player, by the way. He's a really top player. I mean, you look at his age and you look at his numbers, you look at his stats. Seeing him firsthand, the way that he plays, he can do everything. He can run in behind, he can play with his back to goal. He's a danger, he's a threat. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind when I saw him earlier on this season play for Porto against Manchester United, he's going to be in the Premier League. Absolutely, definitely coming to the Premier League. The type of player that he is, the physical stature of him and the way that he plays, he's a perfect fit. And you look at somebody like this. Listen, there's no link here, but you look at somebody like Manchester United, you look at the way that they're struggling in front of goal, Rasmus Højlund, Xerxes, you take Samu all day long. He's a proper out-and-out striker, a number 9. Somebody like him would fit into that system that Ruben Amorim plays because he wants that number 9 striker. He's a perfect fit for somebody like Manchester United, whether it's Newcastle, Manchester United, Arsenal as well. Listen, Arsenal we know are going to be in the window looking for a number 9 for a striker for a 20-25 goal a season man. And I've got absolutely no doubt that Samu will be in the Premier League either next year or the year after. He's a top player.
And Paul, you mentioned Arsenal. They're actually linked to letting Gabriel Martinelli go to help open that transfer budget for new attacking signings like maybe Samu or maybe Isak. But would Newcastle be a good fit for Gabriel Martinelli?
Yeah, well, that's the area that they're looking at, isn't it? I mean, I was up there at the game at the weekend. They played Brighton at the weekend. I did the game, made a couple of changes, but the wide areas, Jacob Murphy, Willock, the changes that he makes, if they want to make that next level, that next step, Martinelli's that type of player. Be surprised if Arsenal let him go because he's been an integral part of what they've done this year. And when Saka's not played, they've relied heavily on him. I know he's had his critics at times. You'll have more of an opinion on me watching Arsenal a lot more than me, but I don't suspect that he's a player that Mikel Arteta would be overly keen on letting him go, would he?
Can't imagine so, but you never know with Arsenal and the books. They don't seem to like to spend more than they earn.
Yeah, well, listen, in answer to your question, Newcastle will be a good fit for him because of the way that Eddie Howe plays. And with Martinelli, you know what you're going to get. He's going to work both ways. He works hard. And in that system that Eddie Howe plays, he's the type of player that would fit into that. I think it'd be a difficult deal for Newcastle to do because I think they'd want a lot of money.
I think price tag would be a big issue. I think now, and I think Arsenal themselves they'd be very reluctant to let Martinelli go. I still see him as a key player in Arteta's plans going forward. So I don't see this deal having any real legs to it.
And Pete, Newcastle are linked with Assane Diao. Could he make the move to Newcastle this summer as an attacking option?
Well, he is the latest right winger to be linked with Newcastle. We've spoken previously on the pod about Newcastle's desire to bring in that right-sided winger. It's been a real problematic position for Eddie Howe over the last maybe 12 to 18 months. I think Jacob Murphy's done a decent job there, but obviously Newcastle are looking an upgrade in that position. They've lost Miguel Almiron in the January window, so there is space in the squad for somebody to come in and play there. Diao's done very well since he's moved to Como in the January transfer window. It was a bit of a surprise move when he left Real Betis to go to Como and linked up with Cesc Fabregas, but he's really hit the ground running over in Italy. 5 goals in 8 Serie A games is a pretty good going. He's a young player, bit of a raw talent really, but with real potential, I think, and that's probably what maybe has caught the attention of Newcastle. He's also been linked with Liverpool as well, but I think it might be a bit of a gamble for me if Newcastle were to firm up their interest in Diao. He's, as I said, still very young, only 19. Maybe he's had a good spell at Como so far. He almost joined Brentford last summer before he ended up staying at Betis. They were very keen to sign Diao. They had obviously noticed his potential and saw him as somebody who could come and improve their side. I think obviously Como have just signed him now. I don't think they'll be looking to entertain any offers for Diao just yet unless it's crazy money. So again, I think he's just that latest player that maybe Newcastle have been looking at as a potential for that right wing spot. Still, I think other targets are ahead of him, the likes of Bakayoko from PSV and others. So I think Diao is just the latest name on that list of right wingers that Newcastle are looking at.